Well, from the standpoint of children, for instance,
Yes.
where identity issues are much, much more important,
Yes.
and they're being formed at this point, it would seem to me that integrating a child into a community, a holiday, the holiday observances oftentimes are very slanted toward the needs of children.
Yes.
It would seem that those have a fundamental practical, socio-psychological need, and to integrate those and to be consistent with those is very, very important to a healthy society and a healthy group of individuals.
This is possible. I am not familiar with what studies have been done concerning how important the demarcation of holidays are to the well-being of children growing up. In particular, there's every reason to believe that the children of families and religious minorities in communities are still able to develop in a healthy way, even though their community is relatively small compared to the majority beliefs. So there are a number of approaches that secular humanist parents can take, and they are actively pursued by different secular humanist parents. Some will set up their own holidays and will encourage the children to participate in Darwin Day or something like that, that's isolated from and separate from traditional Judeo-Christian holidays. Others will celebrate the Judeo-Christian holidays that are in their community, but will make extra efforts to explain to the children what the history of those holidays are, what they mean to the parents. Other parents have taken strategies of having the children celebrate the holidays from a wide variety of different cultural backgrounds, communicating to them that these holidays that there are holidays that are not unique only to the majority religious views in their particular community, that there are other religious groups, other belief systems that celebrate other things, and try to provide this eclectic cultural information to their children in that way.
It seems to me that the group of people that would gravitate towards secular humanism tend to be above average intelligence, eclectic, perhaps artistic, but certainly very scientifically oriented in their thought process. And I want to spend a little bit of time on what it is that you do. I find that fascinating work. What's more important, what you know or what you don't know?
I'm not sure I understand your question.
Is there a way to value knowledge above the lack of knowledge? I mean, in terms of importance, is it more important the knowledge that you have, or is it more important the knowledge that you don't have?
What's important for human beings is day-to-day life. What's important to us is meeting our goals, whether those goals be for our next meal or for the affection of a loved one or a sense of success or accomplishment, fulfilling some personal goal for ourselves. What makes those things possible, what allows us to attain our goals is, at least in part, what we know. And that knowledge empowers us. It's important to recognize that we're not perfect, that we don't know everything. We have to maintain that amount of humility. And indeed, knowledge of our own shortcomings may help us make better decisions and help us attain our goals.
Well, it would seem to me that we basically live in a world where we have very little scientific knowledge of our own condition in terms of our actual day-to-day life. For instance, we still don't know exactly how the whole hand thing works, how it moves when I want it to move and why. But yet it does, and we use this thing. It seems to me, do you think it's possible, and this is another way to go at the God idea, is it possible to have a relationship with what you don't know?
It depends on how far you want to stretch that metaphor. I've had a number of colleagues throughout the years that have wanted to use exactly that term God to characterize the body of all things that we do not know. There's a problem with this definition, of course, and that is that as we come to know more and more, that thing which is God changes, and changes rather radically. And that doesn't mesh with what most people think of as a God. What most people think of, at least in our society, as a God is something that is relatively static and unchanging, particularly when it comes to things like ethical precepts. They want something that is stable for that divine place, not something that's going to change with every scientific advance. However, in another sense, I think it's very important for us to have a relationship with what we don't know, have a relationship with our own ignorance, have a relationship with what I would call ambiguity. As a matter of fact, I think that, if anything, I think that's what characterizes a large number of secular humanists, is that they are comfortable with that ambiguity. They are able to say, this is something that I do not know, and they can move on. They do not have a deep emotional need to have a certain answer to every question that pops into their mind.
Indeed. I want to talk a little about what it is you're working on, because it's fascinating. You basically are, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm boiling this down from your very formidable bio, that you are creating models that can be applied to computer science and mathematics for how the learning process works. And I'm assuming this is done from the standpoint of computer intelligence and computer learning is where the core of your research is. Has anything happened? I mean, what is the most, of all this research and all this work that's happened, is there a significant piece of knowledge about the human condition that has grown from this field?
There are probably several. The one that immediately leaps to mind is cued by you pointing out that my own work focuses on learning. What we've discovered, both as neuroscientists, as computer scientists,